Nevadans are battle-born, but lately we've been tested like never before. So when COVID came to Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto went to work. She got loans for small businesses that saved 500,000 Nevada jobs and worked with President Biden to provide stimulus checks and tax cuts. Senator Cortez Masto got new funding to keep Nevada's first responders on the job, too. Call Senator Cortez Masto at 202-224-3542 and tell her to keep delivering relief for Nevada. Paid for by Majority Forward.
Walmart.com is launching deals for days starting at 7 p.m. on June 20th with huge savings on the hottest items. Up to 40% off select tech, up to 50% off select toys, and up to 60% off summer fashion items. Get the deals while supplies last. That's deals for days starting June 20th at Walmart.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Well, folks, we thought that the Maxwell trial might be postponed. And as of yesterday, in a ruling made by Judge Nathan, that is exactly where we find ourselves. Now, the original trial was scheduled to kick off on July 12th. Now, according to Judge Nathan, and due to the superseding indictment and the vast expansiveness of this case, she has decided to go ahead and push it back a little bit. Now, she says the fall. So that could be, all the way up till December, right? So who knows exactly when the trial is going to start now, but sometime during the fall. Now, as you all know, I planned on going in July and staying for roughly a month to cover the whole entire trial from start to finish. Well, with this being pushed back into fall and work starting up again for me and, real life, it's going to be a juggling act for sure. But I'm going to at least at the very least, get there for 2 weeks of that trial, no matter when it starts. Now, I'll probably try and set it up where I get there for the ending of the trial where we get to the sentencing phase and all of that, if it's only a 2-week stretch. Now, maybe I'll be able to figure it out and still stay for the whole month. But I'm not too sure about that. I had it all, planned for July. So I'm going to have to go back and look at the schedule and try and make some adjustments to try and stretch it out to stay for the whole month. But at the very least, I'll still be there for 2 weeks. But with the postponement and pushing it back, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to, juggle all of the knives in the air, right? But I had a sneaking suspicion that this would occur, so I didn't get locked into any of my travel dates as far as, airfare and stuff like that. So I'm still flexible in that regard, meaning I wasn't locked in financially to this date or anything like that. But the other part of it is my time. I really just don't know where things are going to be come this trial now, as far as what I'm going to be doing professionally. The last, 18 months or so, I've been able to just really focus on this podcast because of everything being shut down in my fields of professionalism. With hospitality being closed down, and then obviously no entertainment, I've had oodles of time on my hands to work on the podcast and to travel to New Mexico, talk to other sources in other places, and I've had just tons of time to do that. But with the city opening up and, work popping back up, obviously, your boy is going to try and dive in and try and recoup some of this money that's been lost over this disastrous 2020. So I'm going to try my best to make sure that I could be in New York for the whole month for this trial. But I just can't promise that at this point. So guaranteed 2 weeks, however. I can always find a way for 2 weeks to finagle my way into New York for sure, but a whole month just might not be doable at this point. Again, not for sure. We'll see how it goes, but just giving you folks the heads up a few months out that, with it moving from July, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to be in New York for the whole entire month. So I'm going to try and make it happen, obviously. I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen. And, make it so that I'm there for as much of the trial as possible. But I just can't commit to that right this second, a whole month right now, before I see what my schedule is with work coming back and stuff like that. So we're going to have to play that by ear, folks, and see what's up and see what the lay of the land is come time of the trial. But one thing is for sure, you can guarantee that I'm going to be there for at least 2 weeks. So that's where we're at with the whole postponement right now and my personal travel plans and what my plans are as far as covering that trial. Now, with that said, there's a lot of restrictions opening up in a lot of states. And if I can figure out a way to get into New Mexico without being quarantined and all of that stuff, if they lift some of the restrictions and that kind of situation down there, then what I'm thinking about doing is, instead of, the New York trip in July for the trial, maybe cruising back down to New Mexico in July instead and taking another run at Zorro Ranch. This time I have a few different pieces of gear that'll go a long way to us getting some more footage and better pictures and stuff. When I went in February, it was really bare bones, right? The podcast had only been going for a few months. I really didn't know what I was doing for the most part. But I got down there and I spoke with some sources and I got a lay of the land, got down to Zorro Ranch itself. And maybe July we'll take a look at that, making another run down to Zorro Ranch, considering we can't go into New York in July, obviously, because there's no trial. So, we have a couple of different balls in the air, folks, and we're going to see what's what. But if there's no restrictions in July going to New Mexico, then I'm pretty sure that I'm going to head back down. So, obviously, I'll keep you all updated on what my plans are and which way the wind is blowing. But that's where we're at as of now, folks, as far as my travel plans and what I plan to do as far as covering this case from here on out. So let's jump into the article about the postponement, and let's see what Adam Klasfeld and Law and Crime has to say about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial being postponed until the fall. This article was authored by Adam Klasfeld at Law and Crime. Headline: Judge adjourns Ghislaine Maxwell's trial until the fall because of new sex trafficking indictment. A federal judge has postponed Ghislaine Maxwell's trial until the fall of this year, citing the prosecution's decision to bring a new indictment in late March, adding federal sex trafficking charges. Again, we thought that this was going to happen. This is the sort of thing that you have to expect in these kinds of federal cases. These things draw out over a period of years most times. And when we're dealing with high-profile people like Maxwell and such a high-profile case, I figured that's where we would be at here. And as much as it pains me and as much as I don't like it, I understand why the court has acquiesced to this request and decided to push it back a little bit. And you also can understand why Maxwell's people were going so hard at bail, right? They knew that they were going to push for this adjournment. They knew they were going to push for this continuation. So they wanted to do the full court press to try and get Maxwell out on bail so that she could, live in the lapses of luxury while they push this case back and try to kick the can down the road a little bit further. And that's where we're at now, right? So we got the adjournment, we got the continuance, and now we're just waiting on Judge Nathan to give us an actual date, and that will come after the defense and the prosecution confer. Having carefully considered the parties' respective positions, the court grants Maxwell's request for a short continuance until the fall of 2021 to allow the defense to prepare for the additional charges brought in the second superseding indictment, U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan wrote. And also, it's more time. I think this is a double-edged sword for Maxwell. Because there's nothing on the books to say that the government can't slap more charges on her. Conspiracy charges, RICO charges. What about the Mann Act? Why hasn't the whole book been thrown at her? You see what the government likes to do usually. Say you're a middle level operating associate for the Cosa Nostra, right? Well, they're going to slap you with 100 RICO charges in the hopes that one or two stick. Why isn't the same sort of pressure and force being applied to Maxwell and all of her rich friends? Oh, it's great that they're being prosecuted. Don't get me wrong, folks. I'm ecstatic about that. But let's be real. Why have they not been charged with RICO charges yet? I just don't understand it. There is no justification for them not having the complete book thrown at them. Now, maybe during this period where there is this continuance, this adjournment, maybe the federal government slaps her with more indictments. Now, I don't know for sure that's going to happen, but there certainly is enough evidence there to drop a big, fat, gigantic RICO case right in her lap and add that to the 8 charges she's already facing. The court rejects Maxwell's alternative request to continue the trial date until January of 2022, and the government's alternative proposal that the court adjourn trial until March of 2022. So basically, the government and Maxwell both offered to push this trial back until 2022. And Judge Nathan is not having it. She says, nope, we're not going to push it to 2022. I want this done in the fall. Now, what's interesting to me anyway is that the government was willing to push it to March of 2022. We're talking 10 months out. Why would they be willing to do that, folks? What does the government have up their very long sleeve? Federal prosecutors opposed any delay as stressful to the survivors. Yeah, look, 100%. Imagine being one of these girls going through this BS. At every turn, there's a postponement, a continuation. The federal government is offering you, platitudes and apologies, but no justice. It just seems like a nightmare that's never going to end for them. And I know, just as an outsider from the outside looking in, who has covered this case every single day since October of 2019, that I've felt that in my soul as well. I want this case to be over and done with and put in the rear view mirror, folks. I know there's some people that want this case to go on forever, and they don't care that the survivors are burdened. They don't care about any of that. But me personally, I want this shit to be over and done with and put on a shelf with a nice little bow. This has been one of the most excruciating grinds mentally for me I have ever been involved with. More than college, more than projects professionally at work when I've worked in the financial sector or in entertainment. This has been a mental grind like I have never experienced. So I can't even begin to imagine what the people who have actually suffered at the hands of this man have felt throughout this. And then again, another gut shot with the trial being postponed. The longer this case remains pending, the longer the survivors suffer the anxiety of anticipating their trial testimony and uncertainty of awaiting a resolution, prosecutors wrote late last month. As a result, multiple survivors oppose any adjournment of the trial date. And I understand that completely, right? Again, like I was just saying, who wants to deal with this shit every single day of their life?
This is the sound of all the things you want. And this is the sound of getting it super fast with GoPuff. Download now and order in seconds for delivery in minutes, all for a flat fee of $1.95.
Imagine being the person trying to live it. And at every turn, you're denied justice. You're denied your chance in court. And once again, justice is pushed back. So I get why it would be frustrating, why it would be stressful for these gals. A grand jury brought a new indictment against Maxwell after prosecutors supplemented their case with someone known only in court documents as Minor Victim 4. Other anonymous survivors told prosecutors they wanted a speedy trial. Look, there is no doubt that we should have a speedy trial and that these survivors should have their day in court, right? It should have happened years ago. And here we are once again, a couple months out. Let's kick the can down the road just a little bit further. Very frustrating indeed. In particular, Minor Survivor 3 expressed feeling significant stress during the pendency of this case and a strong desire to have the case brought to a close through trial as soon as possible, prosecutors wrote in April. Minor Survivor 2 also indicated that she has experienced an enormous amount of stress while this case has been pending and wishes to see the case brought to trial. And how can anyone blame these gals for wanting that? Over and over and over, year after year, day after day, minute after minute, second after second, they're burdened with what occurred here. So it's about time that we stop the nonsense, right? We stop kicking the can down the road and we start to administer a little bit of justice. Now, again, I understand why there is a delay here. I get it. And looking at it from a, completely detached viewpoint, understanding completely why this trial was delayed. That doesn't mean I have to like it, right? Nathan acknowledged the court is very mindful of the countervailing considerations that require that any adjournment be no longer than necessary. But the judge added that the additional charges, which extend the time frame of the alleged conspiracy and introduce a new alleged survivor, spells more work for Maxwell's defense. And that's a fact, right? And again, as much as I don't like it, I understand it. And if it was me, I'd want the extra time to prepare probably as well. So sometimes in life, we don't like things, right? But we're forced to accept them. These additions will require the defense to 1, review a substantial amount of discovery that is now potentially relevant as a result of the S2 indictment, 2, re-review discovery that it had previously considered in light of the changes to the case against her, 3, conduct new investigations based on the new charges, including potential interviews of new witnesses, and 4, reevaluate her trial preparation and strategy, the judge's ruling states. So basically, it's to give Maxwell's team time to reevaluate their position, to talk to new alleged witnesses, and to try and formulate their defense into something that is acceptable to Maxwell, I guess. Though New York is readying to open up again after long periods of COVID-19 restrictions and lockdowns, the judge added that the pandemic remains a complicating factor. Sorry, it shouldn't. If people have been vaccinated, this should all be a moot point right now. I'm really getting tired of this being used as a crutch. Do the people's work, all right? The court system can't shut down because of this. No more excuses. As the government indicated in explaining the delay in filing the new charges, travel constraints and other safety concerns resulting from the pandemic have slowed trial preparation and complicated the logistics of conducting investigations, she noted. Now, don't get me wrong, when the pandemic was raging, right, and before the vaccine was here and, there was a lot of uncertainty, I understand. But moving forward, I don't want to hear any of that bullshit. All these people are vaccinated, right? They all got the Fauci ouchie. So let's just keep it moving now, folks, all right? We have to learn to adapt. We can't be shutting the whole world down anymore, all right? It's time to, get things going. Prosecutors had argued that delay was unnecessary because Maxwell succeeded in splitting her upcoming trial in two. The first trial will have a jury evaluating claims that Maxwell engaged in sex trafficking and groomed and abused Jeffrey Epstein's survivors. The second will assess whether she lied about it under oath in civil litigation with Virginia Roberts, who alleged that Maxwell defamed her by denying it. So there was a bifurcation of the cases, right? We had the two trials now split off from the original one. And the prosecution was hoping that since the trial was split into two, that we wouldn't need to have this postponement. But obviously Nathan thinks differently, Judge Nathan, and she's well within her scope of power to make this decision. Although the perjury counts were recently severed, the court cannot conclude that this sufficiently offsets the additional burdens placed on the defense as a result of the new charges and expanded time frame resulting from the S2 indictment, Nathan's ruling states. So again, she's basically saying that she can't guarantee the defense that it offsets the burden that's placed on them to have everything prepared. So in light of that, she has decided to go ahead with the postponement. Maxwell pleaded not guilty to the new indictment late last month when she appeared in court in person for the first time for her arraignment. Previous hearings had been virtual in light of coronavirus-related restrictions that were in place in July 2020. Judge Nathan ordered prosecutors and defense counsel to propose a fall trial date by May 10th, just 1 week from now. So I said May 12th earlier, and obviously I misspoke. It's May 10th, folks. May 10th is when they're going to get together to figure out when this postponement and new trial will begin. So you can also obviously read Judge Nathan's documents in this link. Like usual, the link is provided in the description box. But folks, this really shouldn't be a surprise to any of us who have been following the case. We saw the writing on the wall. When the superseded indictment came down, we saw Ghislaine Maxwell's team gear up and move in the direction of getting this postponement. It was just a matter of Nathan giving the okay or saying no. And obviously, in Nathan's eyes, the defense needs some more time to get their defense together. So, Maxwell's trial postponed from July 12th to sometime this fall. And for me, folks, I'll tell you what, I really, really wish it was going to happen in July, honestly. But that's how the legal system operates. That's how things go when you're dealing with cases like this. So you have to remain flexible. As far as the survivors go, though, I can understand why they're dealing with anxiety and stress about all of this. They want to get the show on the road, right? They want to get this party started. They want to get Maxwell in the courtroom, in front of a jury of her peers, in front of a judge, and they want her to finally face some justice. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. To everybody who has donated to the podcast recently and in the past, thank you folks very, very much. All right, everybody, I will be back later on, and we will pick up where we left off.
A heart sets us apart. It beats and ticks, and over the years it's taken a few licks. But your heart doesn't just beat for you, beats for your friends and family and your grandson Drew. So let's make it stronger, 'cause a healthy heart loves longer.
Every heart deserves a specialist. Find yours at Dignity Health St. Rose Dominican Hospitals. Hello, human kindness.
Walmart.com is launching deals for days starting at 7 p.m. on June 20th with huge savings on the hottest items. Up to 40% off select tech, up to 50% off select toys, and up to 60% off summer fashion items. Get the deals while supplies last. That's deals for days starting June 20th at Walmart.com.